Oh, welcome back, everybody. It's Monday.
I just had to do a slow clap for blessed.
Yep. What an event we just had Saturday night. Our first UFC event on ABC. It was a great card, but Dominic Salee, we start a new week. How are you doing?
Doing well. This is it.
This is it. Yeah.
Starting with on Friday's preview, this whole block, this whole week of content is about to be crazy. Episode today, we got an episode coming tomorrow. I guess they're listening, so I'm putting it their terms.
Yeah.
Then Thursday, then Friday, then another Monday. So many fights, so many great fights, but it was started off first ever card on ABC, first UFC card of 2021. What a great card. Capped off by one of the best performances I've ever witnessed in my life.
Yeah.
Just unbelievable.
Prelims were a little shaky, but they were okay. You know, we're happy to be watching fights again. But then that main card was just electric.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
3 first-round finishes to start the card. Then a great co-main event between the two welterweight legends. Goes to decision, and then Holloway, Kattar. I mean,
you got to think they're going to want him on ABC again.
Oh, after that, it's going to be hard to say they won't.
Yeah, but obviously we'll be breaking down all the results from hashtag UFC Fight Island 7, capped off with Max Holloway with the performance of the year.
Yeah.
That might stay true for the whole year over Calvin Kattar. But before that, you all know what time it is. It's time for the news.
The news.
March is looking crazy.
March is unbelievable.
March is going off.
I don't know what the UFC's thinking, but I'm not going to be able to withstand all of this.
Yeah. The end of March is what we're talking about here. March 20th, we got Paul Craig versus Jamal Hill, 2 top 15 light heavyweights. Is Jamal Hill ranked?
He is now after the OSP win.
So 2 top 15 light heavyweights going for a scrap. That is March 20th. What do you think of that fight?
That's very interesting. Striker grappler. Paul Craig, the great submission artist, but still very good on the feet. And then Jamal Hill, the KO artist, undefeated. A lot of ways this fight could play out, and that's really a perfect pairing. I'm excited for that.
It's 14 versus 15.
Yeah.
I know Craig probably would have liked to maybe went a little higher, than fighting someone behind him. But still, Jamal Hill, one of the top prospects, probably the top prospect, him and Jimmy Crute in that division. And Craig is very much out of the prospect mold now. He's very much an established man. He is who he is at this point. I mean, he could still get better, but he is a veteran at this point. I think he's had enough experience to where that is an asset to him. So that Jamal Hill, who still has a very limited sample size of fights, it could be very interesting. And you're right, striker versus grappler. Craig does have some nice power on the feet. Mm-hmm. He also is shown to not really like to get hit. Not that anybody does, but he does seem to, at times, early on in his career, he would kind of fold once he got hit in the mouth a little bit. And we'll see if that kind of is the case here. I really like this matchup. I like it for both guys.
Yeah.
I think for both of them, a win is their biggest win of their career, and it can catapult them into like a top 10.
Oh, for sure. That's really perfect matchmaking in terms of where they're ranked, where they're at in their careers. Every which way you look at it, that's just a great fight.
Then, a week later, March 27th, we got our main event and co-main event for UFC 260.
By the way, now if you remember on Friday, this means there's 2 pay-per-views in the month of March.
Yeah.
We've got March 6th, UFC 259, which is 3 title fights.
3 title fights.
Blachowicz
Adesanya.
Megan Anderson, Amanda Nunes. Petr Aljamain Sterling.
Mm-hmm.
Then, 21 days later, we have another pay-per-view with 2 more title fights.
And they're big ones.
5 title fights in the month of March.
Yep.
Tell them what these 2 are.
The co-main event. This one's very relevant to what we're going to be
talking
about today. Alexander Volkanovski, the man who technically beat Max Holloway twice and is our current reigning, defending UFC men's featherweight champion. He's defending against Brian Ortega
2.0. T-City.
Yeah, T-City. So that's a great fight.
Oh,
Ortega's performance against Korean Zombie. I know everybody's wanting this matchup. Everybody's thinking that this is Ortega's time. But Volkanovski beat Max twice.
Yeah.
Max
destroyed Ortega.
So MMA math is not something
Right.
you ever want to get involved in. But I'm just saying, I'm very interested to see how this fight plays out. I think this fight could do a lot for, obviously, if Ortega wins, then we're looking at this whole 2.0 thing as like, okay, this wasn't just a one-off.
Right.
Like, this guy is for real,
Yeah.
like, new.
A totally
improved.
evolved martial artist.
But for Volkanovski, we've been guilty of it on here. We kind of talk about him almost like what do they call it? Like a paper champion?
Yeah, like we're looking for him to get that one really decisive, convincing win. Not that his first win to get the belt over Max wasn't convincing, but then to go in and make your first defense and everybody thinks you lost, it's a weird taste in your mouth.
Yeah, it's just, he's in a weird spot in, like, our eyes, and, I don't necessarily agree with people, like, shitting on him.
Volkanovski's incredible.
Yeah, he doesn't decide the fights. And in fact, obviously you saw how Max treated Kattar, who is a very great striker, and Volkanovski went 10 rounds with him and technically won 7.
7 of them, 7.
In the eyes of the judges, he won 7 of them. So when you look at it like that, like, the guy's really good.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So this fight's
he hasn't lost in like 20 fights.
Yeah. So this is a guy who is like 5'6", right?
Yeah,
really short.
Yeah.
But not too long ago, he was a professional rugby player at 210 pounds.
Yeah, big guy.
And now he's the champion of the UFC at 145 pounds.
Now small guy.
So, yes, he's had to lose a lot of weight, but there's something about when you're at that size, you always kind of carry that kind of that power, that strength with you a little bit at least.
Yeah, confirmed Volkanovski is the pound for pound king. When you look at that. This really is a great fight, though. Like, how do you see this going stylistically? There's so many. Alexander's a great wrestler, but stayed on the feet with Max for 10 rounds.
Yeah, he did.
Ortega, with his striking he showed against Korean Zombie, you don't want to strike with that dude. But then you don't want to go on the ground with Ortega. Very, very interesting. A lot of intangibles here. This is like one of the most exciting title fights lined up here for 2021 so far.
Yeah, completely agree. I'm just happy that this is the fight they're going with. Everybody was so impressed with Ortega after that Korean Zombie win. And it's nice to see that the UFC are committing to that fight. It's a fight that makes sense. Stylistically, I really don't know how this fight's going to go, which makes it even more intriguing.
Oh, yeah.
The fact that we're going to have a hard time when it comes March to when we have to actually like break this down and really give our predictions on it. It's going to be a very hard fight to predict.
100%.
Either guy could get knocked out. Either guy could get submitted. Either guy could win by a decision, in my opinion. I truly think either of these guys could win anywhere, and that's kind of the best fights.
It really is. You can't ask for a better stylistic matchup. Like, we thought the Craig Jamal Hill, then we get this one, and then...
So that was the co-main event.
Yeah, that's co-main.
Our main event for UFC 260.
The big
He's back. The heavyweight goat, Stipe Miocic.
And he's also back.
The Predator, Francis
the boogeyman of the heavyweight division.
They're fighting for their second time, UFC 220.
Yeah, Boston, Massachusetts.
The first time they fought, Francis came in like a wrecking ball through his first few UFC fights. Gets matched up after literally flatlining Alistair Overeem.
Yeah.
3 months after that, he goes up against Stipe. I remember that was probably, in my years of watching so far, it's probably one of the most hyped I've ever been for a fight.
Yeah. Stipe's our guy.
Well, I love Francis too.
Yeah.
Stipe's my favorite fighter of all time, but Francis is like up there for me as like
I
love Francis Ngannou.
And what a gentle giant.
Yeah,
too.
like I just love, how can you not, right?
Yeah.
Stipe wrote the book on how to beat him that night.
World class. He survived the storm in round 1.
Yeah.
Got hit a lot. But
got hit a
survived
lot,
it.
but he never got dropped.
Yeah.
Never.
And then from rounds 2 through 5,
one-sided.
Ooh.
Just
beat down.
Yeah, and Francis. That was when you remember the Habib.
He
quote?
took Francis's soul.
You remember the Habib quote for the Gaethje fight where he's like, "I'm going to take him into deep waters and drown him." Yeah. That's what that reminds me of.
Yes, it is. That's true.
Francis looked like he was drowning.
Yeah, and you saw what it did. That left a lasting effect on Francis.
Yeah,
he went into the Derek Lewis fight and didn't do a damn thing.
Yeah, it really took him took him almost a year after that to really get back his mojo, I guess.
And when he got the mojo back, he's 4 first-round finishes in a row now?
I think so.
So
because he knocked out Curtis Blades.
Yep.
Cain Velasquez.
Yep.
Junior Dos Santos.
Yep.
And then
Rosenstruik.
Rosenstruik. Is that the?
And I'm pretty sure if you combine all four, it's been less than an entire full round, 5 minutes.
I think you're right.
Stipe has fought 3 times in 3 years, essentially.
And they were all against the same guy.
Yeah. And one went, let's see, was it first round? And then
first one went like 4.5 minutes into the first.
Then a 4th round finish for him over DC. Then a decision victory in the last one. So.
I am glad to see that he's committing to this March date.
Yeah.
I think the 3 times in 3 years with DC wasn't all like, it wasn't Stipe like trying to stay inactive, and he even said that like it was the injuries, the eye, his retina, like it was.
And now it's crazy too. Like so now this is going to be March 27th, 2021. He fought Francis in the first title fight in March of 2018. So in 3 years, literally it will be almost 3 full years. Stipe's fought 2 opponents, DC 3 times. And Ngannou twice.
Yeah, that's a great point. So my question for you is, and I know that this is probably a topic for when we actually break it down, but just early thoughts here.
I'm scared, just like the first time.
So, do you feel like you've seen from Ngannou since then? Do you feel he's a better fighter in the second fight than he was?
I don't know if I can necessarily say that because it's all been the same result. Mm-hmm. Like Ngannou's first run, he tore through everyone. Really, we saw more octagon time out of Francis in his first run before he earned the title shot.
He even submitted.
He had a submission.
Didn't he submit Blades?
He submitted. It wasn't Blades. No. He KO'd him twice. I forget who it was, but it was a Kimura.
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah.
And then he fights Stipe. Obviously, goes 5 rounds, loses the decision. Then it's been 4 straight first-round finishes. We've not even got to see him get tested. So I can't say much about Ngannou, but all I can say is that he hits like a truck. He has tree trunks for hands. We've said this on every episode we talk about him. And it takes 1 shot. That's where I'm just scared being a Stipe fan.
Stipe is 37.
Yeah. We saw him get knocked out by DC.
Yeah, I mean, the 2, and then he was getting beat up in the second fight, but then had the big, we always talk about his pulling that rabbit out of the hat, with the body work. Then that third fight, he looked great.
He did look good in the third fight.
And my question more so is Francis better, which I think is going to be everybody's question. My question is more is Stipe still Stipe?
I think Stipe's still Stipe, but can he go a whole first round like the first time with Ngannou and take those shots this time around after being knocked out by DC? He even got rocked in the third fight a little bit, took shots in the second one. That's where my worry is, but I do think, over the course of 5 rounds, it does favor Stipe. Mm-hmm. But again, we haven't seen Ngannou get out of the first. Maybe he's gotten a little better conditioning.
He's got to be ready for that wrestling this time.
Oh, if he's not ready for it, it's going to be over again.
That's what I'm saying. And then you got to know that that's been sticking with him for the whole time. And the fact that it's taken him... Look, he earned probably a title fight. I mean, he earned it off the Rosenstruik fight, but that's going to be almost a year by the time this fight happens. Mm-hmm. So he had to really wait for this shot.
I feel bad for Francis in that regard. I
really
do too.
And that's not really on anybody because Stipe DC had to have that trilogy.
And if you're Francis, you're not going to take another fight and risk it. He earned it. He earned it with 3. He just did a 4th one.
He wanted the Rosenstruik fight to be for like an interim belt.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't do that. They did it with instead with Tony and Gaethje. So that kind of stuck a crawl with him. But Stipe, look, he said he didn't want to, after he beat DC the third time, he said it wasn't really, it wasn't his decision. It wasn't his choice to wait a year in between these title fights. It was more so that he just had to recover from some serious injuries.
Right. And now,
so he wanted to be more active, is basically what he was saying. And now he's proving that. He's coming back about 6 months later.
I was going to say, that was in August, right? Stipe DC3. So now we're seeing him in March. And the good thing about having this in March, regardless of who wins this, we more than likely see him one more time in 2021.
Well, especially depending on how quickly it ends, we could.
If it's Ngannou that wins, I know for a fact he'll fight again in 2021. Yeah. If Stipe wins, it all depends on how the fight goes. But with it being March, he could take literally a 6-month layoff and still fight again.
And there's going to be one guy probably watching this fight very closely.
Oh, you're damn right.
John Jones is definitely going to be watching this fight very closely.
I mean, Dana has essentially said the winner of this, John will fight for the belt. So
look, I'm looking.
The month of March is
heavyweight division's looking very exciting for 2021. But yes, the month of March in particular for the UFC.
5 title fights.
Yeah.
2 pay-per-views, then the freaking fight night on the in between there that we talked about with the 3 fights on Friday.
Mm-hmm. It's like a main card of a pay-per-view within itself, yeah.
I feel bad for February because January's going huge already. Yeah. March is going to be crazy. February's like, oh, we got to deliver.
Yeah. That's ultimately what it comes down to. Fights aren't made on paper, they're made in the octagon, you know. So, that's all of our fight announcements for today, but we do have one big story for the rest.
Yeah.
So, I don't think we've talked about it that much on this podcast, but it seems like everybody else.
Yeah.
And this has been annoying the shit out of me.
Now it's our turn.
Yeah.
We're going to give our 2 cents.
So, Dana has been saying that he was going to meet with Khabib when they went to Fight Island for this run in January.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, MMA media took that and
ran with
it. And when I say ran with it, I mean Usain Bolt sprinted with it. Every interview Dana has done since then has been, what's this meeting going to be like? Is it going to be quick? Is it going to...
Do you have an idea of what he's going to say?
The most annoying questions, and I've really been so annoyed with people continuing to ask about this, because really, I didn't think it was that newsworthy. But Dana, being the very smart man he is, and Khabib being the very smart man he is, they kind of ran with it.
Oh, they promoted the shit out of it.
They basically treated this like LeBron when he decided the decision.
The video of them going into the room together. Then Khabib posted
that video.
Story.
Khabib posted on his story cracked me up.
Dana's just chilling in the chair. Oh,
so,
man.
Basically, and then they announced this is what I get to the LeBron comparison. They said, tune in to the fights on ABC, and you will hear at 3 o'clock what Khabib's decision was. So
my dumb ass is sitting in the chair right when 3 o'clock hits. I'm thinking, all right, they're going straight to this. Then they're going to play the promo for the ABC fights. Nope. They played the promo, got the broadcast rolling, then did the first main card fight. So then we're talking like 3:20 at this point. Then here comes Dana sliding in like Chris Collinsworth on Sunday Night Football.
Yep.
And then there's not,
So I think we have a difference of opinion on this. I'll let you give your point of view first.
So essentially, Dana says Khabib is going to be watching UFC 257 closely. We all know that that's headlined by McGregor-Poirier, co-mained by Chandler and Hooker. So 4 lightweights, top 10 lightweights. He's going to be watching that closely. And Khabib was also very impressed with Charles Oliveira's win over Tony Ferguson. Very happy to hear that. Shout out, Du Bronx. Then goes on to say, Khabib said that if someone does something spectacular, something that tickles his fancy, as I like to say, then he will consider returning, but he does not want to hold up the division, hold on to the belt. So this is going to lead me into one more part that wasn't mentioned on this broadcast, but it was mentioned in the post-fight presser. After 257, Dana flies back to Vegas on that Sunday. Khabib is also going to be in Vegas. They're going to reconvene over dinner in Vegas and discuss and have the decision 2.0, essentially, where the real decision will be made. Are you coming back? Are you not? Did anybody, blow your socks off? And if not, he's going to give up the belt. If someone did something he liked, he's going to choose to fight them. Dana said it's up to Khabib who he wants to defend the belt.
So basically, by the way you're talking, what your opinion is that this decision was that there wasn't a decision.
Yeah. Essentially, yes, long-winded. Mm-hmm. There was a decision, but at the same time, it's kind of like the same. I mean, yes, I was under the impression he's retired. Mm-hmm. So he essentially said, maybe I'm not retired. I don't know. It's just a big maybe.
Yeah.
I
mean, that's true. It wasn't a yes or no like Dana had basically set up. But, I mean, he didn't know what Khabib was going to say. And, yeah, my opinion more so is that this was kind of surprising to me. I really thought he was going to stay retired.
You thought it was going to be a straight-up no on the broadcast?
I thought it was going to be a straight-up no. And when they were, showing the little when they were doing the little videos and stuff, I told you guys in our, UFC group chat we're in, I said that I thought that they had already probably agreed to something, whether it was that he was going to drop the belt or that there was a fight, and they were just kind of playing it up.
Yeah.
Because after they did this meeting, they went and shot an episode of Dana White looking for a fight.
That's my biggest takeaway from this weekend.
With the Eagle Fighting Championship, Khabib's new promotion, which I thought was cool and probably kind of put this in perspective for me that this meeting wasn't. I don't know how legitimate it really was, but at the end of the day, I'm actually intrigued by this because Habib has said, let's be honest, to me, there's only one chance. There's only one of these four fighters that I can see Habib, if they have a truly impressive performance, that Habib will fight, and I think it's Conor McGregor. I don't think he'll fight Poirier again. I don't think he'll fight Dan Hooker, and I don't think he'll fight Michael Chandler, no matter how impressive they look.
And you don't think Oliveira?
No. I think it was nice to mention Oliveira, but even though I would like to see it,
Yeah,
I think
same.
Oliveira gives him.
That's
I think
interesting.
Oliveira gives him the hardest fight of all those guys.
Yeah.
Hot take right there.
Yeah.
But I just think that he mentioned. I think he just it was kind of mentioned in passing, and I think that's kind of how Oliveira is being treated in this grand scheme of things. Is that I don't think that they're gonna do that. Oliveira might be looking at like a Gaethje fight here soon, so that would be awesome. But regardless, it was news to me because I really thought Habib was just done.
Right.
And he left the door open. How much so? I don't know. I don't know what the conversation was. Habib has not really elaborated. It was more Dana just saying what was said, and Dana wants him back.
Oh yeah.
So Dana's going to leave the door open as much as possible, and who knows how much so Habib actually did. But if Conor goes out there and let's say he did knock out Poirier in under 60 seconds, like he has said, I definitely think that there's a good chance for that rematch. But that's not how I see that fight going. I still think Habib's going to end up staying retired.
I do as well. I really do.
But, if McGregor wins, if it's a 5-round dogfight, if it's a second, third, fourth, fifth round TKO, whatever, I could totally see at least it'll at least be talked about quite a bit. I'm sure if Conor wins, he's gonna
oh yeah, he's gonna take advantage of the mic.
He's gonna shoot off on Habib, so we'll see.
Well, and just one more thing. He says Habib needs to see something spectacular. Well, spectacular to Habib could be something different for you and me. What does he want? What is his definition of spectacular? Do you have to go out and do a spinning wheel kick? Do you have to do a flying knee? Do you have to just do something Habib didn't expect you to do?
Is it showing him something that you haven't seen before? So, like for McGregor, I think he has got an underrated ground game.
It's like...
But is it like, does he need to see like McGregor pull off a submission over Poirier and he goes, oh, okay, so you can actually...
Yeah, does Habib need to see something where he's like, okay, this could be a challenge, so I'll do it and prove how good I am?
Yeah, it's hard to say what's going on in his head, through all this, but it does add some suspense to...
It does.
The pay-per-view. I mean,
if there wasn't already enough pressure and eyes on 257...
Yeah, I saw a tweet, I don't remember it word for word, but it was essentially calling it like... UFC 257 Habib's Contender Series. And I thought that was pretty funny.
He's like the puppet master.
Yeah, so it's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out and what kind of decision is made in the following days after. I'm just not so sure it'll actually happen. Right. But it was news to me that he's at least open to it. I figured he was like legitimately done.
Yeah, 100%.
But that is all for the news.
The news.
Let's recap some fights, Dom.
Well, 3 of them are really quick.
Yeah, so we have our 5-fight main card from Saturday. I'm just going to go through the results here, and then we'll go fight by fight. We opened our main card at middleweight. The 2 undefeateds. One of those O's has got to go, and boy, did it.
Oh, it went flying.
Punahele
Just
Soriano.
like his mouthpiece.
Punahele Soriano getting a big TKO win over Dusko Todorovic. 4 minutes, 48 seconds of the very first round. Second fight, also at middleweight. Alessio Di Chirico getting the head kick knockout. He Gabriel Gonzaga'd that man.
Yes, he did.
With the head kick KO over Joaquin Buckley. 2 minutes, 12 seconds in the first round. Probably the biggest upset of the night, I would say. That or this next one here at welterweight. Li Jingliang getting the knockout punch over Santiago Ponzinibbio, 4 minutes, 25 seconds of the very first round.
Yeah, all 3 of those, by the way, not TKOs. KOs.
You told me after... actually, well, I'll finish this, and then we'll get into it. Co-main event, also at welterweight, legend fight, Carlos Condit beating Matt Brown via decision, unanimous decision, 30-27 on all three judges' scorecards. Don't necessarily agree with the scorecards. I thought it was 29-28 Condit. You actually had a 29-28 Brown.
I did.
So I think that shows this fight was great. It was a lot
Loved
closer.
every bit of it.
A lot closer than those scorecards might lead you to believe.
They had a fight that I think we all expected. them to have.
Both guys turning back the clock a little bit, or at least just putting it all out there.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they're a couple steps slower, but they have no less amount of heart than they
Mm-hmm.
had in their prime. And lastly, our main event at featherweight. Max Holloway said, "Y'all must have forgot." He said, "Me." He said, "Noah, you must have forgot
Damn, bud.
how good I am." Gets the unanimous decision win over Calvin Kattar. Listen to these scorecards, folks.
This isn't a typo.
50-43, 50-43, 50-42. That's the second 50-42 in UFC history. The only other one, Rich Franklin over David Loazo. Shout out Rich Franklin, Ohio boy.
And for those of you that are confused on those scorecards, this is what that means. 50-43 means that Max had two 10-8 rounds. 50-42 means that Max had 3 out of 5 rounds scored a 10-8. That's dominance.
It was dominance. Calvin Kattar showing
Tough as shit.
an unlimited amount of heart, and even
Unbelievable.
landing some good shots of his own, but it just wasn't.
Oh.
He ran into a machine.
He
this
ran into a
night.
different animal last
Yeah.
time. But we'll get into that.
Yeah, but before we get into the first fight here, what was funny was those first two fights happened, first round, quick finishes, and you text me and you're like, I might actually get to watch all these fights because, fun fact, you had to work
Yes.
at, what was it, 5:30?
I had to be at work at 5:30. And this card started 3 o'clock Eastern.
Yeah.
To put it into perspective.
So you were like, man, I might get to watch the main event from home if it keeps going like this. Now you did end up watching it from work.
They had because with 3 straight first round finishes, they had to fill the airtime. So there's so many commercials and promos, and I'm like, damn it, this is actually playing out worse. That there's so many first round finishes. But I did get to watch the entire fight at work on the computer, Max and Kattar. But we'll start with the first fight.
Yeah, so Punahele Soriano, Dusko Todorovic, these are the two undefeated prospects going at it. Give your thoughts here.
So it really started out as just an aggressive feeling out round.
Yeah.
Not like a relaxed that we see a lot when people feel each other
Felt
out.
like,
It was aggressive.
Felt like they were trying to one up. They were
Yeah.
like they were trying to be like, I'm the guy, the prospect.
Yeah.
I'm the one.
And Dusko was leaving his hands low a lot. And that led to some openings for Puna, and he landed, and when he landed, that shit hurted. And this fight was almost stopped like a minute and a half sooner. He, from like 3 minutes and 30 seconds to 4:48 was all Puna.
Yeah.
Like putting it on Todorovic, and the fight just so happened to keep going. Todorovic's mouthpiece fell out in between the octagon and cage. They lost it, which is the second time that's happened
Yep.
on Fight Island. So that gave him like 1 whole minute to chill, which kind of sucked for Puna with all the momentum. But then as soon as they gave him the backup mouthpiece, Puna goes right back in and ends up finishing the fight. I was very impressed with Punahele last night. I really was. Dusko didn't look bad, but once he was hurt, that was it.
Yeah.
Even if he would have made it out of that first round, he was so banged up, the second round probably would have went much the same.
Yeah, big win for Soriano. I know I did a little bit more digging into this fight after we kind of broke it down. And just seeing kind of the power that guy had, I figured that would be his advantage here, while Todorovic maybe had more of the full arsenal of weapons, I guess, or maybe the more technical style. I don't know, but he had a few flaws in his striking here in that defense-wise. He was leaving his hands low. Soriano taking full advantage of that, and what a performance.
It's them Hawaii boys. Born in Hawaii, Punahele, just like Max Holloway. And
I was very happy I shouldn't say happy, because, I mean, Todorovic, we broke him down here before. He looked really good
He
before.
does have potential.
So I definitely think that potential's still there. I think his striking defense might need a little work. While Soriano, man,
he had just a well-put performance. No real flaws. Didn't get hit too much. And when he hit, man.
Yeah, it's hard to really say
bombs.
anything else. You know, he's gonna obviously get another fight here, and if he has another big knockout win, then
He
a
could be
couple
looking
fights
at
away
a
from
number,
top
yeah.
15.
I mean,
so-
again, 8-0 now. A lot of those via finish, so excited to see where both of these guys go. But of course, with the winner and Punahele, of course, more excited to see what's next for him. And for Dusko, he will bounce back. I do not doubt that.
He
at
looked
all.
so good in that fight we broke him down on
Yeah.
before that I think it was Daquan Townsend he beat up. I think for sure that guy's definitely got a lot of
And we've
potential
talked about
still.
this before. When these undefeated fighters finally get that first loss, it's not all bad. It almost feels like maybe they get just a lot of pressure lifted off their shoulders when they're not perfect anymore. You know what I mean?
Instead of being worried about losing that you're just going in there to try to put on the best performance you can do.
So, interested to see how he bounces back.
Yeah. Now this next one I think we have some takeaways for. Alessio Di Chirico getting that head kick KO over Joaquin Buckley. Now, we both predicted a first round KO for Buckley.
Yeah.
However, I'm going to give myself a little bit of a pat on the back, and not that you disagreed with this at all. We were hesitant because we had not completely bought into Buckley yet. I know his only loss in the UFC was to Kevin Holland.
Which looks better and better by the day.
But he was beat up in that fight and got finished in that fight. And just because he had such an amazing KO over Impa, and then he followed that up with that really nice knockout of Jordan Wright. I still wasn't on this train that's like, oh, this guy's like top 15.
And a lot of people, including myself, thought this was kind of just a tune-up
Well,
to pad Buckley's stats here.
And to be fair, that's why I predicted it the way I did.
I mean, Chirico's on a 3-fight losing streak.
I still was looking at it and I was like, yeah, I know he's on a 3-fight losing skid, but I'm like, I could totally see him pulling this one out. Didn't expect it to happen the way it did.
No.
Buckley, man, kind of talked himself into looking a little bit foolish.
Yeah.
He definitely was very confident, and he kept saying, like, tell me you're not, like, he was like, well, you ain't scared of me and stuff like that at the weigh-ins. And
confirmed Alessio was not scared.
Yeah, and Alessio was not even happy after the win.
This is also true.
He was very upset that they would not interview
a guy that just got
Buckley.
knocked out cold.
Yeah.
Didn't do the best on the mic. Didn't take the most of the opportunity.
Yeah, but regardless, what an impressive
the performance.
knockout.
He got the $50K bonus.
Yeah, he did, and you know, good on him. It's always just nice to see a guy whose back is against the wall. 3 straight losses, a couple of those by finish, I believe.
Probably on the brink of getting cut.
Yeah, and then he comes in here and has an explosive knockout over a guy who had the most explosive knockout maybe you'll ever see.
I mean, he shut down one of the UFC's biggest hype trains going into 2021.
Yeah. So that's got to feel good. Maybe once the dust settles on him being so angry, he can just appreciate that. That was a huge moment for him.
Yeah.
It might be the biggest moment he'll ever have in his career. So you would hate to see him sour it by being so like negative.
Yeah,
but
right.
Regardless, for Buckley, look, now you just gotta improve. Not saying that he hasn't been, but truthfully, like. That knockout he had over Impa, like as impressive as it was, and even the follow-up over Jordan Wright, that shine's going to be lost after this loss.
Yeah.
Now it's less about like, oh, look how impressive that was.
You need to go out and just worry about winning the fight.
Yeah, you know. And
I feel for him because he probably did have a lot of pressure to live up to. And we talked about that going into his Jordan Wright fight, you know?
He did.
So go back to the drawing board, see what's next, see what kind of stylistic matchup they grant him. In terms of like well-rounded, mixed martial artist, Chirico is very experienced, a crafty veteran. So it wasn't necessarily an easy fight for Buckley going in. It was just a fight you felt they were setting up to get one more win and then potentially put Buckley in with top 15 after that. So Chirico shocked the world. He really did. 2 minutes, 12 seconds. Didn't waste any time. Before that, really wasn't much going on in the fight. And landed a beautiful KO, like Noah said. Looked just like the Gonzaga KO years ago. So hopefully Buckley can bounce back big. And then shout out again to Chirico. And I'm interested to see what's next for him, to be honest. Especially after the weird, angriness. Anger. Yeah.
Yeah, because him and his corner weren't too even really giving Dana White the time of day. So, I don't know. I don't know what's next for him. He had. It's not like he's just done all. It's not been all losses in the UFC. He's been pretty much a 500 guy.
Yeah, he's 4-5 now in the promotion.
So it was definitely a win he needed because he also had lost to Kevin Holland and then Zach Cummings in his Smith Rakich card. So, he definitely needed a win here. And I think him getting that, it's going to get him another fight, especially when you beat a guy who had the knockout of the year.
Yeah.
For Buckley, I would just say maybe stop talking so much. I mean, I appreciate the confidence, but man, he talked big leading up.
Yeah,
to
and
this
it was
fight.
weird because he was so humbled after the head kick KO that he had.
Yeah.
Like, he did the interview with Ariel. He's like, I wasn't even full-time martial artist. I was working at a CVS, and I'm just thankful to now I can do this full-time. And then he gets the other big KO, and it's like, all right. I don't want to say his head got too big, but it's like now you're just brought back to reality. Like, you're not going to get a first-round miraculous KO every time. That's just not how it's going to be.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I don't doubt that he can bounce back.
Yeah. And then our next fight here. So 3 straight first-round finishes, 3 straight underdog wins.
Yeah.
Li Jingliang getting that knockout win over Ponzinibbio, who was making his return after a 2-year layoff. Dom, what are your thoughts here? Because for me, at first I was like, fuck yeah, like I predicted that. Like I felt good about it. I was like, man, like that was a... but then it was like, once it settled, I was like, oh, wait.
Ponzinibbio lost.
Yeah, I was like, man, that guy looked so good at one point in time.
He was one of the best in the world.
He headlined against Neil Magny and looked incredible for 5 rounds. And to see him, he looked a lot. He definitely looked like he had ring rust.
Yeah, it was... this was another kind of like feeling out round, but your more typical feeling out round compared to that first one where I said it was so aggressive.
Yeah.
There wasn't, again, when it ends in the first round, there's only so many takeaways, unfortunately. So it's not even that Ponzinibbio looked bad. I mean, he looked sharp at times, but at other times, Lee looked really good. And then when the combo landed and that left hook hit flush, Ponzinibbio was out cold. I mean, that's... Shout out to the Leech.
He looked incredible.
He looked good, lean.
The best I've seen him look in his whole career was this fight.
I mean, this he's going to get top 15 next.
Actually, sure. Dana said with that win, he's going to get a number next to his name.
And he should.
He should.
I'm going to take a look.
And Ponzinibbio definitely looked slower. He looked less explosive. And is it all attributed to the ring rust? I'm not so sure about that. I think we might just... Unfortunately for Ponzinibbio, I'm concerned that maybe we've seen the best of him already. Is that something that you feel?
I hope not, but it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah. And I don't want to.
He's 34 now.
I don't want to talk that negatively because for all we know, he could just use this as more motivation and just the next fight he'll be like, okay, got that over with. That coming back.
It's not like him losing this is going to be like detrimental to his career.
It shouldn't be
he
because
by all
guess
means
what?
Could come back and make a run.
I've said how underrated Li Jingliang is. The guy hasn't been top 15, but you know what? He's very much the welterweight version of Chito Vera.
Yeah.
A guy who's been kind of scrapping on these main cards of fight nights for years
and
now.
And young still.
And had some losses along the way, but he's always there for the fight. Never a guy who really... He's not a guy who just is like a punching bag getting finished. He's constantly being outpointed if he's losing. And
now he's 10-4, by the way, in the UFC.
And he's a big welterweight, man.
He looked good.
Yeah. I was very impressed. And I love that nickname, the Leech.
The Leech.
Yeah, I was very impressed. I'm very happy for him. Sad for Ponzinibbio, but for Lee to get into that top 15, and now he's looking at... I mean, who would you even pair up for next?
So it's funny right now because technically Connor's ranked at welterweight 15th, Hamzat's 14th, so that's kind of weird.
Wait, what?
Yeah, at welterweight, the rankings updated and they put Connor in.
Oh.
So it's a little awkward.
Okay.
I guess that's because of the Cerrone win was at 170 technically.
Well, yeah, I'm assuming that Connor will be taken off and they'll put Lee in there because they said that Lee got a number next to his name.
And so obviously Lee's not going to take on like Hamzat because he's booked with Leon, and I don't want to see Lee versus Robbie Lawler because Robbie doesn't deserve that.
Doesn't deserve it.
I meant like no. I meant it in the complete opposite way. He doesn't deserve to go in there and fight and get beat up again is what I meant. Not that he doesn't deserve the name.
So you're saying he's going to get beat up by the Leech.
Noah.
Dom, you're talking about Robbie Lawler, my guy. You can't come through with that foo-foo lame shit like that, Dom.
I'll just say I don't want Lee to fight Robbie then.
Okay, there you go.
Lee versus Bull Muhammad.
I like that.
That's fun.
Actually,
I would
think
say Jeff Neal, but
I'm gonna say Jeff Neal.
I want Jeff to fight Vicente Luque, or else I would.
Yeah, I get that.
But
I'm
either
saying,
of those guys.
I'm gonna say Jeff Neal. I think Neal coming off that loss to.
I think those two
Thompson.
could headline a fight night. You think?
Neal Jingliang.
Yeah.
They probably wouldn't, but
But you think they could? Not that they'll.
Now
do
that
it.
Neal has, even though he wasn't supposed to headline, since
And with
he
Lee,
has,
with China, you know.
yeah, that's true. They constantly have put him on those cards
Mm-hmm.
in China. You know, he was on the card where Wei Li won the belt. He was on. What other cards have they even?
He
Oh, yeah,
fights
he was
all
on.
the
He was
time.
on the Blades and Ganu card.
Yeah, that was
it.
at like 4 in the morning all the
Yeah,
time.
so he was on that one. So yeah, I totally could see it. I don't think they will. I definitely think at this point it's a co-main.
Oh yeah, Lee is a guy that people are gonna gravitate toward.
I hope so. I've really enjoyed watching him in his career, and the fact that he's getting his shine now. I'm happy.
You know,
Ponzinibbio, is there really?
Robbie Lawler.
Oh.
There you go.
Yeah, I like that. I do like that. I think I even though it's a top 15 guy.
Yeah, it's technically a jump up from Lee, but at the same time, it's not.
It's just Robbie's just.
He's on the
Robbie's
downward.
13th because he was literally like second. He was like number 2 or 3 before he went on this skid.
Yeah.
So he's kind of there. He's kind of only holding on by a thread in the rankings at this point.
And if you're the UFC and still are looking to capitalize on Ponzinibbio, not saying he's guaranteed to beat Lawler, but if he beats Robbie, then he's got a number next to his name again, and it's easier if you're the UFC to promote Ponzinibbio again, start moving him up the rankings. If you give him someone unranked, it's just a little tougher. And I think that's a fun matchup. Robbie's could hang around in that fight, especially after the Ponzinibbio we just seen. That's not a bad fight for either guy.
I mean, I know you hate Robbie Lawler and everything, but I'm just kidding.
I done messed up.
No, I definitely think that's a good matchup. I'm glad you said that because even though Ponzinibbio isn't ranked anymore and
He's
lost,
still deserving.
I definitely think you give him
guy
another,
like Robbie.
yeah, because he was in the top 10, borderline top 5 at one time. You know, maybe give him another chance to show he still belongs.
So that would make a lot of sense, and it would work for both guys.
Shout out to the Leech though.
Looked great.
Co-main event: Carlos Condit, Matt Brown. I'm gonna let you talk about what happened here. Because what a fight! It was a great fight.
It was a great fight. They really came out and did what we thought they were going to do. Matt Brown had a really early takedown in round 1, held ground control for at least 3 minutes. Carlos did flip last minute and end the round on top, but to me that wasn't enough to give the round to him. But apparently to all 3 judges it was. So I had Matt Brown up 1-0 going into round 2. Condit controlled all of round 2, 100%. Even on the ground, he was on the ground a lot. This whole fight really was on the ground a lot more than I expected it to be. But Condit looked good. Had some potential submissions throughout the fight that he could have locked in, but Matt Brown with the veteran expertise didn't let that happen. So I have it 1-1 going into round 3. And round 3 was similar to round 1, but it was a little bit more half and half in terms of ground control compared to the first round. But I still felt like Matt did more on the ground. However, they talked about the total strikes at the end of the fight, and it was actually pretty significantly in hand for Condit, which I didn't realize.
Yeah.
So I think that played a big factor, and of course, obviously the judges said he won all 3 rounds. Even if I would have, said Condit won, I still would have scored it 2-1, regardless. I didn't think he won round 1. Round 3 was the biggest toss-up for me. Great fight, though. They both dug deep, showed, turned the clock a little bit. Matt Brown 40 now. Condit's 36 or 37. So many fights between those guys. And it was a war, just like we thought was going to happen.
Yeah, again, what I said before is 2 guys that are maybe a step or 2 slower than they were in their prime, going in there and showing that they have not lost any of their heart. They might have lost some of that speed or that power, that skill level, but at the end of the day, they're still 2 of the.
Yeah, man.
They have some of.
They're just dogs.
They're dogs, They're fighters at heart.
Savages.
Now, for Matt Brown, unfortunately, I think that might be it for him.
Might even be it for both.
They might be it for both. I mean, Condit, this was the last fight on his contract, and I guess that means it wasn't for Brown, so maybe there is another fight for him.
He didn't look.
They both
awful.
looked good.
Like, they both could easily get another fight.
Yeah, I don't think Matt Brown looked bad at all. I think the 30-27s does him a complete injustice when you go off of what was seen. It was a very back-and-forth fight, very evenly matched, I thought. But I'm not going to matchmake for Matt Brown just because I think that might be it for him. Condit, if he is brought back, and again, that's a big if because when you hear someone's contract's up, this happened with Anthony Pettis. I thought they were going to bring him back, and now he's in PFL now. So, but if they bring back Condit, I got two in mind.
Okay.
And they're brothers.
Same.
Nick Diaz fight a second time, or he fights Nate Diaz at welterweight.
Both said they're going to return in 2021. Look, for Nate, it looks like they're going to do a lightweight fight, according to Dana. Yeah. But for Nick, he was looking damn good. Later half of 2020, posting videos of him training.
Now he's allowed to smoke weed.
Yeah, you're allowed to smoke weed now in your fight camps, which was probably nice for those two guys. That would be fun for the fans, don't you think?
I think so.
You could do Carlos Condit, Nick Diaz as a fight night headliner. They might have to put that on a pay-per-view because of it being Nick Diaz, but either way, that would be so much fun for both guys. Again, a turn back the clock, two legends. They're going to go to battle. You know it. I'd love to see that 5 rounds.
I want to see that for sure. I only threw Nate in there just because I think that Condit's good enough to fight even Nate.
We can do a triple threat.
Yeah.
First time ever.
It's a handicap match. No, I definitely think Carlos has shown a lot in these last two performances that he still has something left.
Pulling out 2 decisions in a row for a guy that's known as a finisher could be looked at as a negative thing, but at the same time, to dig out a decision victory is also a positive.
Yeah, there's no shame in however you win, you know. So yeah, I think that's all that really is to be said about that fight. It was a great fight though. I really thought it might actually end up taking fight of the night, but then our main event here, Max Holloway getting that win over Calvin Kattar. I was wrong. I'll be the first one to say it. I thought I picked Calvin Kattar to win this fight. Calvin Kattar was surging at this point, the best he's looked in these previous couple performances. And even his loss over Zabit, he came on so strong at the end that I thought maybe over 5 rounds it might be kind of like, I was thinking it might be like Max Volk 2, where Max started off real strong because Kattar is a slow starter. They talked about that on the broadcast. But I thought maybe over the later rounds, Kattar might somehow kind of take over the fight a little bit. That is not what happened here.
I don't know what to say. It was one of the best performances I've ever seen in the UFC octagon. The output was... I was out of breath watching this fight. That's it. Max's output. He set all kinds of records. I got to pull up this picture. He set like 8 records last night. Over the course of 5 rounds, he threw... Let's see. He threw 746 strikes. Attempted. He landed 447 of those.
That's crazy.
Both UFC records. 445 of the 447 strikes landed were significant. What 2 weren't significant is what I want to know in that fight. There's so many freaking records on here. I don't want to read all of them, but like output. 746 strikes attempted. The previous one, which was set by Colby Covington against Robbie Lawler, was 541.
Yeah.
He beat it by 200.
It showed. It showed, too.
It was unbelievable. Unbelievable. In one round, Noah, he landed 141 strikes in 1 round.
Yeah, this fight definitely could have been stopped.
I thought it should have been stopped in the 4th round.
4th round. Even Dana said the same thing, and he was getting kind of concerned about it, which I was a little surprised about. I didn't think Kattar looked that out of it. Like, I thought it could have been stopped, but this, to me, was not as egregious as, like, Aldo with Peter Yan and stuff. Like, I thought I've seen a lot worse, or Anthony Smith with Glover Teixeira. Yeah. Like, I think I've seen worse. But
the fact that Kattar never went down.
Yeah.
Never got dropped was unbelievable.
We're dealing with a different breed this night, people.
Jesus.
Max has the shine for being that guy who literally has the most fights without ever being knocked down.
Yeah, it's 24 fights now in the UFC, never been knocked down once.
And for Kattar to kind of take all of what Max had and never went down. He was hurt bad at times.
It was unbelievable.
Max, let me just say, that right elbow...
Dude.
just open.
Sliced him up.
Oh my gosh!
Then he kept doing it.
It was beautiful,
right between the guard.
So beautiful. It was a wonder to watch. I was sitting there.
Max's body work, by the way.
Yeah, well, that's what opened it. He was landed the body, and then he would come over with that right elbow. Calvin was in a tough way. He broke his nose. Face was all.
Dan Hardy mentioned he may have even had a broken rib the way he started was breathing in the corner. It was master class. Just a clinic. Like, you thought Holloway against Ortega was a performance?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
It's the best performance. I think it would have been performance of the year for 2020 if it had happened.
Oh, yeah.
And for now, it's looking like an early contender for...
They've got... The fighters have a lot to live up to.
2021's got a lot to live up to because this was the best I've ever seen Max look, and I never thought, even though I said that I thought he was going to lose, and I still didn't think he had lost a step. I never thought we would see him look better.
He's gained a step
than he did against Ortega, but as you just said,
he looks better.
His output, that's the thing. These Volkanovski fights.
He could have fought 10 rounds.
His output was a little lessened in these Volkanovski fights compared to what he did with Ortega or even Poirier.
And I think that points a lot to how good Volkanovski is.
Yeah, that's true. And for Calvin, what did I say leading up? I said, if you're going straight boxing, Calvin Kattar's got the pedigree. Yeah, it didn't look like it.
I, to a certain extent, said that. I said as a whole, in terms of all striking, it's definitely Max. If we're talking strictly boxing, it would be Kattar.
It didn't show. And all respect to Kattar, I just think he ran into a guy who... What did I say? I said for Kattar... A guy with nothing to lose is a dangerous guy. Max was the one who fought like he had nothing to lose here.
It was unbelievable.
I mean, he was taking...
He had a chip
at some
on his
point,
shoulder,
At some points, he was just... Kattar was throwing wild, and he was eating it. Max was like, oh, you want to throw these wild haymakers? Well, I'll take them just to beat the shit out of you.
And I'll counter it with 5-6 punch combinations.
And then that fifth round, he's talking to the corner.
I just got chills.
The coldest thing I've ever seen.
This is the most savage shit you'll ever see in any sporting event ever. Any sport. Mm-hmm. He, with around a minute and 36 seconds in the fifth round, for any of you that haven't watched the fight, you need to go watch this. You need to go watch the whole fight, but specifically I already rewatched this fight last night at 1 a.m. I had to watch it again. And he looks at the commentary team. Max Holloway is in the middle of a fight, looks over to his left to the commentary team, and says, I'm the best boxer in the UFC. Then, while he's still looking at them, lands a beautiful right cross right on the face of Kattar. Then, backs out of the way and head swivels away from 4 strikes. Never got hit once by Kattar, all while looking at the commentary team.
Yeah.
He was not looking at Calvin Kattar.
It was the coldest thing I've ever seen.
And then kept looking at Calvin and said, who's the freshman? I'm the freshman. Because in the lead up to this fight, Calvin Kattar's actually older than Max Holloway. And he said, I'm going to treat Max as if he's the freshman in high school and I'm the senior. Mm-hmm. And Max took that. That MJ meme?
Yeah.
Max took that personally.
Yeah, and also, I don't even know where I was going there. But just, God, what a performance.
I have not digested it yet.
Well, let's talk about some matchmaking here. Now, first, post-fight interview, Max says...
Had a mic drop moment. Didn't really call much,
Said if something happens he said he's staying in Abu Dhabi for the pay-per-view. Told everybody to check out the pay-per-view, being a good company man.
Yeah.
But then said if anything happens with the Dustin Conor fight, that the UFC can hit him up. Dana kind of shot that down. But I'm curious what your thoughts are on that he is turn me around and fight at lightweight.
Savage. He's a savage, man. Straight killer. Max Holloway is bred fighter.
And this is what's going to lead me into my matchmaking here. At featherweight, what's next for Max is he waits for the winner of
Ortega, which is next month. Or March, sorry.
But since that's happening in March, and then depending on how much of a war that fight is, you might not get that title fight till maybe August.
Yeah.
If Max is able to heal up and turn around before then, maybe you still do Nate Diaz at lightweight. I'm still throwing that out there. I know it's a bit out of left field and nobody's really talked about it, but
it's not an awful idea.
I just think that if you want a big fight that the fans are going to love for Nate Diaz at lightweight, I think a fight with Max would be especially after that win. And even if he loses to Nate Diaz, he still has the title fight. It's just when he lost to Poirier.
Exactly.
When he was going for 2 belts. And then he went back down and defended against Frankie Edgar. It didn't lose. It didn't make Max any less of a dominant champion.
Or less of a star.
Yeah. It just
makes people respect you more.
It actually gave Poirier more of a bump, I think. That's my 2 matchmakings there. That's all I'm
okay, so I'm not going to like matchmake for him at lightweight, although I don't disagree that he could. But I'm just going to kind of stick with featherweight for now and say, hey, wait for your shot. Volkan, Ortega are in March, so maybe you get that late summer. Now, for Kattar, kind of a cool spot here. So, let's see. We've got Ortega, Volk, Zabit's chilling. Yair's suspended until March, and then we got Korean Zombie. That's who's ahead of Kattar. Well, I was calling for Zombie and Zabit, and I would still love to see that fight. But, buddy, Zombie and Kattar sounds awful damn fun to me.
It does sound like a lot of fun. I actually still going to stick with Zombie Zabit.
And do Yair,
Kattar.
Yeah, either one of these 3 in front of Kattar is a fight to make for sure.
Yeah, the Yair-Kattar fight just... that interests me a lot.
That's fun.
Yeah. I mean, really, any of those fights are fun. I mean, Kattar or Zombie just... You kind of got me like sitting here going, man, just because those are 2 guys that take so much punishment, and obviously Kattar showed that in this Max fight.
But Kattar needs to take a long layoff, though.
Yeah, I don't want to see him again.
That was a lot of damage.
I don't want to see him again until like June, July, August. Something.
Take some time, get your head right. In a loss like that's probably got to play with you, for a while.
So,
but either way, like Korean Zombie number 5, Yair number 4, Zabit number 3. Kattar's not going to move back. He's going to sit right at number 6. So either one of those 3 guys, if it plays out how I would love it, I would still do Zabit Zombie, then Yair Calvin, like you said. But again, either one of those 3 for Calvin makes sense. For Max, wait and get your title shot. If you go up to lightweight, you're an absolute beast. He did put on quite a spectacular performance. Habib, I don't know if you were watching, man. But, if you want to do something fun for the fans. But either way, man, Max Holloway, unbelievable.
Yeah.
What? This was the first ever card for MMA ever on ABC. The first fighting in general in combat sports in 20 years. And what a way to just showcase the sport, showcase the company. The UFC undoubtedly will be back on ABC after yesterday.
Completely agreed. Shout out to Max. Shout out to all the winners on this card, and just shout out to the UFC. They're back in a big way, and that's going to lead us into what's next for this week. You guys, if you're watching this on Monday,
we're recording while you're listening to this.
So Tuesday we have our preview for Neil Magny versus Michael Chiesa, a card that's probably going to not get quite the shine
we're going to have some fun with this one.
Yeah, this is going to be one we're going to dig in a little deeper.
6-fight main card.
6-fight main card.
At noon Eastern. On Wednesday.
Yeah.
That's weird.
That's weird.
But that's my work from home day.
Yeah.
Shit, I get to just watch fights. That's fine with me.
So that'll be coming to you on Tuesday, and then the card happens on Wednesday. Yep. So then Thursday we'll have our recap of those fights, and then Friday we're previewing McGregor versus Poirier 2. Dominic, are you even ready?
No, I'm not. I wasn't ready to do this preview on Friday. I'm not ready to do the preview for Wednesday. I'm damn sure not ready to do the 257 preview. Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier, co-mained with freaking Michael Chandler's debut against Dan Hooker. We've got Amanda Hebos and Marina Rodriguez fighting on that card. Joanne Calderwood and Jessica Ai. Mm-hmm. Lots of great fights on that main card. The prelims are a fight night in itself. We might even have to sprinkle in a little bit of that on there. Coming Friday.
And then the following Monday we'll recap those cards.
Yeah, that's when our extravaganza comes to an end.
Yeah, exactly. So be on the lookout for all that content. Basically, just check out our pages every day and you'll probably have something.
That's true.
So, but until then, Dominic Salee, tell the good people where they can find you on social media.
Find me on Twitter, on Instagram, at DSalee14. I almost read our podcast one. Find our podcast on Twitter, Instagram, at BAJ_MMA podcast. Also, small plug, personally here, started writing with a MMA website, Overtime Heroics. I just wanted to plug this because I've got a preview coming out as we're recording today, but you'll see it Sunday, Monday, all week for Amanda Ribas and Marina Rodriguez. Check that out before our preview on Friday. That's my shameless plug. Noah, take it away.
Yep. Check out Overtime Heroics. Dominic, he is now an MMA journalist. Congratulations for making your way into the elite.
Yeah, thanks.
As for me, if you go to my bio on Twitter or Instagram at @ntbaker_, you'll be taken to our link tree, which gives you the links to all the platforms that the podcast is on, as well as the links to the social medias. That includes the Twitter, the Instagram, the YouTube channel, along with Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. It's all on there, baby. And there are a couple links for the Anchor page. First, recording a voice message is something that we want to hit hard in 2021.
Yes.
If you have a thought or an opinion or an idea about a fight, about a news story, about a segment, about anything we do,
Episode idea,
if you just want to say hi, if you just want to call us a piece of shit, record it. And we'll include it in the episode.
Depending on how vulgar it is.
And also, there's a link on there if you want to become a supporter of the podcast. That just provides us with a few dollars a month, and all that money goes back into improving the podcast, whether it be audio equipment or down the line doing a video podcast. So again, you can find all that if you go to my bio on Twitter or Instagram at @ntbaker_. But with that, we're out, and we'll see y'all on Tuesday.